After last week's class, I had a little flashback to probably 30 years ago, maybe a bit more, 31, when I first learned the section of Talmud that we're learning. I was a teenager and very fresh to Gemara learning. And I actually remembered learning this section on Aina, on trickery. And I recall very clearly not having a clue what was flying. I just could not get my head around what it was talking about. And this was not an unfamiliar feeling in studying Gemara. It happens quite regularly where there's a concept, you hear the words, you speak the language, it's being translated to your language, so you understand the actual terminology, the vocabulary, but the concept just doesn't sink in. And this is because the Gemara is coming from a totally different angle to our normal thinking and our experience. And so very often there are parts of the Mishnah, the Gemara, that are just completely new territory for us. And it takes a while just for it to click, for that aha moment where, I get what it's saying. And so thinking about that, and last week's class was quite heavy going to a great extent. So I thought what I might do tonight is go back over what we learned, but with the help of some charts to map it out a bit more and to try and allow the concepts to sink in a bit better. So what we'll do now is we'll go back to the Mishnah. We'll learn the Mishnah again, and then we'll look at a chart that actually structures the Mishnah visually to make it a bit clearer. And by way of introduction, the section we're talking about is the laws of Aina. Aina means trickery or fraud, a level of dishonesty. And there's a curious law about Aina, about trickery. It's understood that when people are selling stuff, so there's a certain wiggle room that is expected or allowed in selling products. Prices, even if there's a price for a product, a going price, a recommended retail price, even so, but there is a certain amount of leeway that a merchant can charge a little bit more, or a buyer may offer a little bit less than the price, and that is understandable. That's business, but there's a limit to how much that is acceptable. When the price can be varied slightly, but to vary it over a certain amount is not considered fair. It's considered already lying, dishonest. So our sages needed to find where is that line? Where is the line under which it's acceptable wiggle room, over which is just too much? And the line is the border. So what they said is, under that line, if a buyer or a seller realizes that they have been overcharged or they undercharged, but if it's under that threshold, so then business is business, life goes on, you can't do anything about it. Over that threshold, if a buyer has been overcharged past that threshold, whatever it's going to be, or a seller has been underpaid less than that threshold of margin, so in such a case, that was an unfair sale. And so either party has full rights to go back and say, I want my money back, or I want the product back, the sale's off. That you charge so unreasonable, the sale is off. Then what about on the threshold itself? This is where a lot of Talmudic debate and argument and analysis comes. Whenever you make a border, What happens if it's on the border? This side is fair, this side is unfair. What's on the border? And so to that, our sages said that on the border is called Aina. That's actually the law of Aina. The law of Aina, which is the law of trickery, is that on the border, if somebody has overcharged exactly on the border or has been underpaid exactly on the border, the wronged party can go back and say, I want that money back, the overcharged money back. Or if he was the seller who was underpaid, can say, I demand you pay the difference that you underpaid. That is the law of Aina. And the number that our sages gave for that is 1/6. That 1/6 of the price, if it's overpriced by 1/6 or underpaid by 1/6, that's the threshold. More than that, the deal's off. Less than that, fair game. On the border, 1/6 exactly, the defrauded party or the wrong party can demand the difference. That's what our Mishnah says. Yep.
But if it's not demanded, it just goes on.
So the Mishnah then says, what's the time limit for that? Is that an open-ended thing? Can that demand be made at any time? And the Mishnah says no, that the demand has a time limit, and that is the time it would take to show the product to somebody in the know who could look at it and say, yeah, well, this is what it should cost. It's understood that not every buyer knows the price of things. You trusted the merchant, but you can go and get a second opinion. The time it would take for you to get a second opinion, that's how long, and come back to demand your money back, that's the time you have. Which our sages made an assessment of that, and that would depend on the circumstances of the place. How easy is it to get a second opinion? How quick will that be? But we're timing that in minutes and hours, not in days.
So over a 6, the sale is off. It's voided. Less than a 6, it stands. And on the border, it is.
On the border, the laws of Aina kick in, which means that the defrauded party can demand the difference back within the time frame.
Okay.
I'm going to show you now.
Demand the difference. Yeah, right.
I'm going to show you now the chart.
So it's like a threshold of like 17%. That's your, you can go under or over 17% of the price. Anything outside of that, there's some issues.
Yeah, a little bit less than 17%. Yeah. 16.666 maybe. Yeah, correct. So can you see this chart?
Yes.
So when does the law of Aina apply? The law of Aina is the threshold one, is on the border one. More and less, more than the threshold, less than the threshold will have a different law. So the word Aina means fraud. The defrauded party can claim the difference. The sale remains valid according to most opinions. Even that's a bit debated, but let's leave it for that for now. So on this chart, along here we have the charging, and this chart is really for the buyer, right? Over here is the timing. So he was overcharged less than a 1/6. And the buyer claimed the overpayment within the time limit. There's actually a debate later. If he does come back when it's less than a 1/6, does he have a claim or not? There's a debate about that when it's within the time limit. But after the time limit, certainly no claim. If he was overcharged exactly a sixth and he came within the time limit, the sixth must be returned. The sale is valid. But if he came after the time limit, he has no claim. If he was overcharged more than a sixth, the sale is cancelled and there's a full refund if it was within the time limit. After the time limit, there's a debate about it as well later on in the Gemara, whether after the time limit, the sale is cancelled or only the extra part. That's also debated. But the law of Aina is this middle one. When he was charged exactly a sixth, that's what our Mishnah tells us. When he's charged exactly a sixth, overcharged, that sixth must be returned. The sale is still valid if he came within the time limit. If he waited too long, he has no claim anymore. Why does he have no claim? Because we assume that when you bought it, if you had any qualms about the price, you're going to go to an expert and ask. If you do not go to an expert and ask, then we assume that you accepted the price and the sale was done. And you can't come a day or a week later and say, I've changed my mind, or I did ask someone. That you have to do straight away. If you didn't do that straight away, we assume that you accepted it and the deal goes through. All right. Now, let's look now at the Talmudic text, the Mishnah. And if we read it again, hopefully it will be a bit clearer. There's still a part of the Mishnah that is not clear, and we're going to have to leave it to be clarified a little bit later. Do you see the Gemara page now?
I just see the chart.
Okay, so 1 second. We're gonna... Here we go. Okay, we're back to the Mishnah here in the middle of the page. The Mishnah says, Ha'aina, trickery, the law of trickery, the law of fraud, meaning the threshold, the line that we draw, is, now the Mishnah puts it in a bit cryptic words. It says, Arba kesef me'esrim va'arba kesef l'sela. The law of trickery is 4 silver pieces out of 24 silver pieces, which is a seller. So a seller is a coin that's worth 24 silver pieces. 4 silver pieces out of 24 silver pieces, which is shtus lemekach, a sixth of the sale. How do we put those words together? Well, the operative words here are shtus lemekach, a sixth of the sale. What is considered trickery? A sixth, an overcharging of a sixth is trickery, which is 4 silver pieces out of 24 silver pieces. Well, 4 silver pieces is a sixth of 24 silver pieces. So let's just assume that that's what it means. 4 silver pieces is a sixth of 24 silver pieces. Good. The Mishnah then continues, Ad masai mutar lahachzir. How long? What is the time frame within which this return can be demanded? Says the Mishnah, Ad kadesha yara l'tagar o l'kroivoi. Enough time it would take for the buyer to show to a merchant or a relative who is in the know. That's the time frame.
Okay.
Okay, so that we've got clear.
Yep.
Now, last week I introduced the next part of Mishnah as being a Mishnayike Humor. One of the attendees said they didn't see the joke. So it looks like not only have to explain the Mishnah, but have to explain the joke as well. Admittedly, it's not the funniest joke in the history of Jewish humor, but It's a humorous situation that says the Mishnah. Hoira Rabbi Tarfon belud hayna shmoino kesef me'esrim va'arba kesef l'sela shlish lemekach. Rabbi Tarfon, who was a rabbi in Lud, a major city in Israel, Rabbi Tarfon said that no, trickery is 8 silver coins out of 24 silver coins, which is a seller, meaning a third. You're allowed to go up to a third of the price in an overcharging. V'samchu tagre Lud. And so the merchants of Lud threw a party. They celebrated when Rabbi Tarfon gave them this leeway. They were delighted. This is fantastic news. We can overcharge up to a third of the price.
But the buyers can underpay by a third as well, right?
Yeah, but the merchants are much more in the know than the buyers. The merchants are fine with that. No problem. Let them try and underpay us.
Oh, you got it ready.
So Amalahem Kol Hayom.
It's just a spoon.
Amalahem, Rabbi Tarfon said to them, Kol Hayom mutar lachzer. But hang on a minute. I also give them all day. I give them a longer grace period. They have all day to return the money. Not just the time it takes to go down the road to check it with the other merchant. They have all day to return it, said Rabbi Tarfon. Amrullah, so the merchants of Lud said back, Yaniach lana Rabbi Tarfon b'mkamenu. Leave us back where we were then. And I went back to the original law that a sixth is enough. In other words, the merchants of Lud who had their big party when they heard Rabbi Tarfon gave them their leeway, you can overcharge by a third. They swallowed their what's the word? They ate their hats. They went back on their excitement when they heard that he also says that the buyer has all day to check. So these wily merchants realize that that's not such a good deal for us. We need that short window. If you didn't figure out that you were overcharged quickly, then you lost it. So they went back to the original law. A sixth is fine for us. All right, that's the Mishnah. Are we good with that?
Yeah.
Okay. This is where it gets a little bit more interesting. The Gemara. Remember Rav and Shmuel? We met them last week. Itmar. On this Mishnah, there was a discussion of the great sages, Rav and Shmuel. Rav and Shmuel, the sharpest Talmudic sages, and they had a disagreement about this Mishnah. Rav Amar, shtus mekach sheninu. Rav understood the Mishnah the simple way that we read it. When it says that a sixth is the threshold of overcharging, a sixth of what? Rav understood a sixth of the retail price. If you overcharge less than a sixth of the retail price, it can go through. A sixth exactly of the retail price, the buyer, if he figures it out quick enough, can demand that extra back. If you overcharge more than a sixth of the retail price, so then the sale is null and void. It's not fair. That's how Rav understood it, which is how we've read it until now. Shmuel, however, had a broader understanding of this sixth. Ushmuel Amar, Shmuel said, Shtus mois nami shoninu. It also could be understood a sixth of the money that was paid. What does that mean? So the Gemara explains. We're going to look at another chart to help us, but first we're going to look in the Gemara. Shavi shisa b'chamsa, something that was worth 6 silver pieces, and it was sold for 5 silver pieces, or shavi shisa b'shiva, or that same thing that was worth 6 silver pieces was sold for 7 silver pieces. Kula alma loy pligi de basar mekach azlinon. Vanohava. Everyone agrees that there, the sale price was 6. If the person paid 5 or 7, either way, that is more than a sixth. It's a fifth. And a fifth is bigger than a sixth. Yeah? 1/5 is bigger than 1/6. Correct? So something worth $5. If it was bought for $6 or $7, that's $1 margin. Either way, whichever way it was. And $1 out of 5 is 1/5. That's more than a sixth. With me?
1/5 is greater than a sixth. That is correct.
Why is it out of 5? Is it the selling price 6?
No, here. Sorry. 1 second. Shavi Shisa, it's worth, sorry, you're right. I mixed it up. It's worth 6 and he bought it for 5.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's worth 6 and he bought it for 7. So it's not more than a sixth. It is a sixth. If it was worth 6 and he bought it for 5 or for 7, that is a sixth.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, I messed that up.
Both cases, the difference is 1 versus the worth, which is 6, right?
Correct. $1 out of
7
6
is 1 more, or 5 is 1 less than 6. So it's always 1, right?
So here, yeah, it's $1 more or $1 less, but it's a $6 product, six silver piece product. So therefore, 1 silver piece is 1/6. Everyone agrees that's a sixth of the sale price, the retail price. So that is Aina, that is trickery. That's right on that threshold. And the buyer can demand back, or the seller can demand that extra dollar that wasn't paid. Everyone agrees with that. Keep ligi, but Rav and Shmuel disagree on the following. And this is like this. Shavichamsha bashisa. What if it was worth $5, 5 silver pieces, and he paid 6? Or v'shavishiva bashisa. Or if it was worth 7, and he paid 6. So both cases are where he paid 6, but it was worth 5, or it was worth 7. Lishmuel, according to Shmuel, he says we can go, the sixth can be worked out by the money he paid. He paid, in both cases, here, he paid 6. If he paid 6, but it was worth 5, what he paid was a sixth more than what he should have paid. Not a sixth of 5, but a sixth of 6 of what he paid.
Sorry, can you say that example again?
Yeah. The money he paid was 6 silver pieces.
Yeah.
But the product should have been 5. That was the value of it, 5.
Yeah.
So in such a case, Shmuel says, I see that as a sixth of overcharging. Because I say you can work out the sixth also by looking at the money he paid, not just the money, the price of the product, the money he paid. He paid 6 instead of 5. So what he paid, 6, is a sixth more of itself over the price.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Rav says that no, that's a fifth more. That's a total ripoff. Whereas Shmuel says no, we can look at that as a sixth as well. And here I think I'll introduce the chart. Let's look at a new chart here. The debate between Rav and Shmuel regarding calculating Aina. Rav says a sixth of the correct price. Shmuel says a sixth of the correct price or the amount paid. So let's have a look here. If the object is worth $5, I made it dollars here just to make it simple. The object is worth $5 and he paid $5. Well, no one has any issue here. If the object is worth $5 and he paid $7, everyone agrees the sale is canceled. The question is, if he paid if it's worth $5 and he paid $6, that's where they disagree. Rav says that sale is canceled. Why? $5 and he paid an extra dollar. $1 out of 5 is 1/5. 1/5 is bigger than 1/6. That's over the threshold. And therefore Rav says the sale's canceled. Shmuel says, no, I'll say that is a sixth. Because it's worth $5. He paid $6. But Shmuel says the sixth can be the sixth of the correct price or a sixth of the amount paid. He paid $6. What's a sixth of $6? $1. That's how much extra he paid. 1/6. Not a sixth of the worth. What he paid was an extra sixth of the worth. What he paid has an extra sixth to it. If you take a sixth off what he paid, you get the value of what he should have paid. In other words, what Shmuel's saying is you could either add a sixth to the worth or subtract a sixth from what he paid. If you get to the same thing, then it works. And so therefore, Shmuel says in this case, where it was worth $5 and he paid $6, it's called Aina. That's the threshold. That's on the line, which means the sale is valid, but $1 has to be refunded to the buyer if he comes in time, within the time frame. Why over here does everyone agree? There's no debate here. If it was worth $5 and he paid $7,
it's well over either way.
Either way you look at it, it's more than a sixth. It's more than a sixth of $5, and 1/6 of $7 is going to be less. I mean, even if you took a sixth off there, it'll still be more than $5. If you took a sixth off $7, it'll still be $5 plus, which means the overpaying was way more than a sixth either way you look at it. Not way more, but way more than a sixth either way you look at it. So therefore, both Rav and Shmuel agree on this one. Here as well, if it's worth $6, if you paid $5 for it, that is a sixth less than its value. That's Aina. The sale is valid, but the extra dollar has to be paid back to the seller. It has to be paid to the seller. The seller says, you tricked me. You gave me $5 for a $6 thing. So you need to pay me the extra dollar. If he paid $6 for a $6 thing, everyone, that's fine. That's normal. If he paid $7 for a $6 thing, there also it's Aina, according to all opinions, because it's a sixth of the value. An extra sixth, $7 is $1 more, 1/6 of the value. So therefore, everyone agrees you have to refund, because Shmuel agrees that the correct price plus a sixth is Aina, as well as Rav. They all agree with that. Another debate will be where it's a $7 valued object. If you paid $5, everyone agrees the sale is canceled. Those $2 of the discrepancy is more than a sixth either way you look at it. It's more than a sixth of $5, and it's more than a sixth of $7. If you paid $7 for a $7 thing, everyone agrees that's the correct price. Here, if you paid $6 for a $7 worth thing, Rav will say he's got no claim. Why? Because the worth is $7. He paid $6 for it. which is less than a sixth of the value. The underpaying is less than a sixth of underpaying. If you divide $7 by 6, you get more than $1, and therefore he paid less than a sixth under the price. So the seller cannot come with a claim that's under 1/6 underpaid. $1 is less than a sixth of $7, says Rav. Shmuel, on the other hand, says, but $6, paying $6 for a $7 thing, the underpaying is $1, which is a sixth of this, a sixth of what he paid. The underpaying was a sixth of what he paid. And therefore, you can make a claim here. Shmuel says that is Aina, and that extra dollar should be paid to the seller if he makes that claim. Why? Because Shmuel says a sixth of the correct price or a sixth of the amount paid counts and can be used as the claim. Is that clear? Not quite.
So,
This one here, I think we understood better. This one here, it's a bit more convoluted thinking.
7. So,
I'll tell you what I think Shmuel's saying, and we'll see if we can explain it. I'll see if this makes sense. Shmuel had a bit more of a flexible view of business than Rav did. Rav said, okay, we all agree that business is business. There's always a little bit of wiggle room. And therefore, if somebody overcharges a little bit, it goes by the wayside. If somebody overcharges too much, it's not fair, it's canceled. And there's a certain threshold, there's a certain border in between those two. And our sages said the border, Mishnah said the border is 1/6. That's the border. That's how, what we all understand. Rav understands, what do you mean a sixth? A sixth of the price. There's a retail price that's an accepted price. If you go above a sixth of that price, it's too much. Below a sixth, it's okay. And on the border, a sixth exactly, the guy has the right, if he finds out in time, has the right to get that sixth back. That's how Rav understands it, very simple and straightforward. Shmuel says, well, if you're giving leeway to people in business, the leeway is a little bit more than that. The leeway is a sixth, but a sixth either way you look at it. Either a sixth of the price, or if the money that was paid is itself, if you subtract a sixth, you'll get the price. Or you add a sixth to what he paid, a sixth of what he paid, you get the price. So therefore, over here, the thing that's worth $5 and he paid $6, Rav will say, well, a sixth of 5
is, sorry, no, don't let me interrupt. Sorry, go on.
5 divided by 6.
It's a bit less than $1.
So therefore, here, when he paid $6 and it's worth $5,
It's a fifth, no?
it's a fifth.
So that's greater than a sixth.
$1, correct. $1 extra. $1 extra over $5 is 1/5 of $5. So 1/5 is bigger than 1/6. So therefore the sales cancel, says Rav. Classic. Straight out. That's more than a sixth. Shmuel says, hang on a minute. You're going to go to the merchant here and say, you overcharged more than a sixth. You know you can't do that. The merchant will say, hey, no. I overcharged a sixth. And you'll say, what do you mean? It's a fifth. A fifth of $5 is $1. He says, no, it's a sixth of $6, what I charged. I'm allowed a sixth. I charge him $6. A sixth of that is $1. That's what I overcharged. And Shmuel says we're going to pay that. We're going to give him that. We're going to give the merchant the right to say that that sixth is a sixth of the money that was paid. And so therefore the sale is not cancelled, but he can get his refund of $1.
I can understand Rob's logic, like working out the amount over or underpaid relative to what the thing is worth, because that's like the market value. But I can't get my head around Shmuel, because working out the difference to what it's worth on the amount paid, it just seems like the amount paid is already the part of the problem already. Like the amount paid is where the problem comes in. So why you would calculate it against the price paid, just I can't see the logic of that.
Well, I'll put it to you differently then. We go to the merchant here. The merchant, we say, you charge $6 for a $5 product. He said, yep. And so they said, don't you know that if it's over a sixth, the sale is canceled? He said, yeah, I do know that. And so, if it is a sixth, then you have to return what? What do you have to return? The 1/6. I understand that, the 1/6 of what he paid. I'm ready to return the $1, which is a sixth of what he paid. That's what you have to return, a sixth.
Okay.
So, Rabbi Moss, in terms of the calculation, simplistically, Shmuel's saying is you take the paid price, you find out what a sixth is of that. If that doesn't get you back down to the actual value, if there's a problem between what that figure is and what the value is, then you've got an issue.
Correct. If a sixth of that is less, doesn't get you down to the price, then that's overcharging. Like $7. The example right here, $7 for a $5 thing. Well, a sixth of $7 is 1.2, whatever, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's less than $2.
And if you take that off $7,
if you take that off $7, you don't get to $5.
Yeah.
So that sixth, taking off a sixth of $7 is not going to get you to $5. But taking a sixth off $6 gets you to $5.
So according to Josh's calculation, if you take the price that was paid and you add a sixth to it, if that is still below what it's worth, then it means the buyer underpaid. Is that right?
Correct.
So you either got to add on a six or subtract a
which is this case where it's worth $7 and he paid $6. A sixth of what he paid is $1. Sorry, so that's Ana. But according to Rav, a sixth of the worth is going to be, if you subtract a sixth of the worth, it's going to be more than $1. So he's no claim.
because it's 1/7.
1/7.
Yeah,
Is
a seventh.
less than a six.
It's smaller. It's smaller
It's
than
smaller
a sixth.
than a sixth.
So I mean, yeah, put simply, the difference between the sold price and what it's worth, Rav only compares it to what it's actually worth, right?
Yes.
And Shmuel will take that difference and compare it to either what it's worth or what was paid.
Correct.
And if it is either one of those are over a six, well, then he's based on that, he's going to use the previous chart, I guess, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. I think I can follow that.
I'll just make sure I have this chart handy next time.
Take it shopping with you.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we comfortable enough with this? Do we understand that the Rav and Shmuel, whether we agree or not with their logic, but do we understand Rav's position and Shmuel's position enough to move on? Because the next thing the Gemara is going to want to do is say, well, which position is corroborated by the Mishnah? Let's look at some more numbers back into the Mishnah. The Mishnah said, what's a sixth? 4 silver pieces out of 24 silver pieces. That's a sixth, right? 4 out of 24 is a sixth. Now, the Gemara is going to say, well, who does that sound like, Rav or Shmuel?
Shmuel.
Let's see. Tnan. Right here. The word Tnan is, it says in our Mishnah. Let's see who has our Mishnah like, Rav or Shmuel? Tnan. It says in the Mishnah, Ha'ina, trickery, the threshold is Dalid, Arba Kesef Me'esrim Ba'arba Kesef, 4 silver pieces from 24 silver pieces, Lasela, which is a seller, 24 silver pieces is a seller. Shtus Lemekach, which is a sixth. My love, does this not mean Dezavin Shavi Esrim Be'esrim Ba'arba, that you sold something worth 20 silver pieces for 24 silver pieces? The 4 out of 24 does that not mean that the 4 was the overcharging out of the 24 that you charged? You charged 24 silver pieces for a 20 silver piece object. And therefore, what is that? If the object was worth 20 and the charge was 24, and we say that's a sixth. A sixth of what?
That is a sixth of the price.
Of
what the sold price.
The money that was paid, correct. Not the retail price, which is 20, but the money that was paid, which is 24.
So that sounds like
Shmuel, who
correct.
says that we do allow the calculation to be from the money that was paid. The person paid 24 silver pieces, but it was really only a 20 silver piece object. What he paid, if you subtract a sixth from what he paid, you get 20.
Yeah.
Even though if you make a sixth of 20, you won't get 24. He charged more than a sixth of the retail price. 4 silver pieces is more than a sixth of 20. A sixth of 20 is 3 point something. But if the Mishnah says the example we gave of a sixth is 4 out of 24, what does that mean? 4 silver pieces was the overcharging out of 24 silver pieces, meaning he charged 24 silver pieces for something. Those 4 was extra overcharging. It should have been 20. That is a sixth of the money that was paid.
Yeah, that's right. And similarly, 4 being the difference over 20, that would be a fifth, right?
Correct.
But
that's a fifth, not a sixth. Correct. Which is more than a sixth. So why would the Mishnah not say that that's a cancelled thing? That's not a no. That's not the threshold. That's way over, because it's not. 4 is a sixth of 24. What he paid was 24, and so that's exactly like Shmuel. So, excuse me, Rav. Rav, you don't seem to fit with the Mishnah. Unless we can re-explain the Mishnah differently. Loi. No, you misread the Mishnah. Dezavin shavi esrim va'arba be'esrim. The Mishnah is talking about a case where something worth 24 was sold for 20. You just got it the wrong way around. When the Mishnah said that trickery is 4 out of 24, what it means is that the object was worth 24 silver pieces. It was sold for 20 silver pieces, and therefore it was a sixth of the retail price. It was undersold for a sixth of the retail price. That's what the Mishnah is talking about.
It was worth
24.
Sold
Sold for 20.
Worth 24. It was worth 24, I see.
Sold for 20.
Deshave esrim va'arba. Okay. Okay.
So
4
the 4 out of the
24.
24 meant the 4 was undercharged.
Worth 24.
A sixth
Is 4
of
on 24
the,
6?
Sorry?
Is 4 on 24 6?
Yes.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is?
Six fours are 24.
Oh, yeah. Well, that makes sense.
So if it's worth 24 silver pieces and it was sold for 20, what's the undercharge? A sixth. But we're talking about a sixth of the retail price, the correct price, which is 24, which is like Rav, argues the Gemara. But the Gemara is not going to accept that for very long. Because if that's the case, if it's a 24 silver piece object, that's what it's worth, but it was sold for 20. Minis Anna, who's been tricked here? If it's worth 24 and it was sold for 20, who's been tricked?
The seller.
Seller.
The seller has been tricked. So you're telling me the Mishnah is talking about where the seller has been tricked? But let's keep reading in the Mishnah. Ema Sefer. What's the next part of the Mishnah say? How long has the tricked party got to make the return? Ad Mosai Mutar La'achzir. Bichdei sheyar l'tagar l'kroivei. He has enough time to show to a merchant or to a relative.
Oh, so it must be talking about a buyer.
Of course, that's talking about a buyer. Who has to show it to a merchant? Not the merchant, the buyer. The buyer who's not an expert in these things, he doesn't know what things are worth. He has to go and show it to somebody. So if the Mishnah continues after telling me what trickery is and says, and how long does the person have to make a claim of trickery? As long as it takes to show it to an expert, to a merchant or a relative. Well, that's talking about the buyer, not the seller. And I'll tell you 2 reasons why. First of all, because the merchant is a merchant. Second of all, where's the object? After the sale, where is this object? Who has it? The buyer. The buyer has the object, not the seller. So if the Mishnah says, how long does he have to return it? As long as it takes to show it to an expert. Who's showing? The buyer is showing. The buyer is holding the object. Even if you tell me that the seller, heaps of stuff come through his hands, he buys and sells all the time. He doesn't know what everything's worth. Fine, but this Mishnah is saying that the wronged party has enough time to show it to an expert. Who's showing? The person who's got it in his hands. That's the buyer, not the seller. So obviously, we're talking about a case where the buyer was wronged, not the seller. And if the numbers 4 and 24 are being thrown around, it must mean the higher number, 24, was what it was sold for, when it's really only worth 4 less than that, 20, and a sixth of the sale price, what it was sold for, the money that exchanged hands. That's what we're talking about, which is Shmuel's opinion. So we're back to Shmuel. Indeed, Rab Nachman said that when we said the time limit is how long it takes to show to an expert, that is only talking about a buyer. But interestingly, Rab Nachman says a seller can always go back and demand his money back if he finds that he was underpaid. The seller does not have a time limit. The buyer has a time limit. You bought an object. You have to go and get it checked out. If you didn't get it checked out, so then we assume you accept the price. But a seller does not have that limitation. If he finds that he's been underpaid, even a week later, he can demand the money.
Doesn't seem fair. Because he should have more knowledge about his merchandise than the person buying it, right?
You would think so.
He should have less time.
So Rashi says later on, we're going to learn this law and the reason why. Because you're right, it needs explanation. Why would a seller have forever to demand back the money? He's selling. He should know what he's selling. So later on, we're going to learn the reason why.
Maybe not all sales are made from like established merchants. It could just be like a sale between two random people.
Yep, on eBay, a Gumtree. Yep. Okay.
That's good.
So now at the moment we're saying, okay, well, it seems like this Mishnah is like Shmuel, because if you're using the words 4 and 24, and we're talking about the buyer being ripped off, and it's a sixth, the only way to work that out is it was worth 20. He sold it for 24, and a sixth of 24 is 4. That's what was overcharged. And we're going like Shmuel, that you can work out the sixth from the money that exchanged hands. That's what it seems. Although the Gemara says, okay, I'll come up with another way to reconcile this with Rav. Ella. Maybe it was worth 24 and it was sold for 28. So when the Mishnah said 4, what is considered an overcharging? 4 from 24, which is a sixth, it means the price was 24. He charged an extra 4, 28, which is a sixth of
8.
28. He charged an extra 4 silver pieces. It should have been 24. That was the correct retail price was 24. He charged 28, which is 4 silver pieces extra. 4 silver pieces is a sixth of the retail price, 24, which is like Rav says. In other words, don't say that we're forced to say the Mishnah goes like Shmuel. We could explain the Mishnah like Rav as well. The Mishnah said, what was the words of the Mishnah? The laws of Aina, the law of trickery, the threshold is 4 silver pieces from 24, which is a sixth. What that maybe means is there was a 24 silver piece object. That's the correct price. It was sold for 28, 4 extra, which is a sixth of the price, the correct price.
Of what it's worth, yeah?
Of what it's worth. That's just like Rav. So we have no proof from there.
The Mishnah is completely ambiguous because it just says 1/6. It doesn't say what it was bought and sold for, right?
It just says 4 silver pieces from 24 silver pieces, which is a seller. Doesn't spell out what it's talking about. it opens itself to both interpretations of Rav and Shmuel. That's why you end up with Rav and Shmuel arguing on this point, because the Mishnah is open to both interpretations. We just justified this Mishnah from both perspectives. Whether Rav, who says you only look at the sale price and a sixth, meaning the retail price, the correct price, and a sixth in addition to that is Aina, or Shmuel says no, you could also calculate from the money that exchanged hands, a sixth of that. You could also explain this Mishnah saying that it actually does tolerate both explanations. So we have no proof from our Mishnah whether Rav is correct or Shmuel is correct so far. What's interesting, we'll stop there, but what's interesting is the Gemara's continuation is that it attempts another proof in favor of Shmuel from the Mishnah, from Rabbi Tarfon's opinion, who said his words were 8 from 24, which is a third. He says you can overcharge a third. So it's had a very similar argument to what we just said. And again, concludes that it doesn't prove like Shmuel. You could read that like Rav as well. And then finally, the Gemara produces a brisa, a Mishnayike source that says explicitly like Shmuel. And so we see that the Gemara was pushing Shmuel's opinion. 2 attempted proofs from the Mishnah didn't work. Then a brisa comes and does work. And so indeed the halacha is like Shmuel. That the more cumbersome, less obvious version, Shmuel's one, which was harder to understand, but the fact that the Gemara keeps trying to prove Shmuel correct, even though it was rejected twice, it comes up with a third proof that is strong enough. The halacha is like Shmuel. It does go like Shmuel, that you can work out the sixth either by the retail price or by the money that was paid. All right. Let's leave it there.
Thank you, Rabbi. That's great. Is there any way you can share your